Currently have absolutely no proof that higher dimensions exist. The math says they just might, which is where we're headed. But first, we're going to explore the fourth spatial dimension just a little bit more, where we have a bit of intuition still, at least when we make comparisons. So as with any video going into higher dimensions, we need to visit Flatland. This is the hypothetical world of flat creatures that can only see along a completely flat plane and have no concept of height or a third dimension. So even if a 3D object were to visit the Flatlanders, they could only see a cross-section, technically just a line segment get larger and then smaller as the sphere interacts with their world. Even though the intersection would be an entire circle, that could only be seen from above the plane. As you can see, a 3D creature like us would have godlike powers to Flatlanders, able to enter their world at any point and see everything at once. Even if the two-dimensional creature were in their version of a completely boxed-in region, blocked off from everything in their world, we could still see them and interact with that space. So just imagine you got in an enclosed box thinking you're safe. Well, now a four-dimensional creature, let's say a hypersphere, could still see you. And if it wanted, it could enter that space at any moment from out of nowhere. You'd only be able to see a 3D cross-section as it interacts with our world, but just like before, there's an entire higher dimensional creature who you're only seeing a little sliver of. Hopefully you're seeing the comparisons and how a four-dimensional creature would have godlike powers to us. Now, if we could take that Flatlander out of its two-dimensional world and show it ours, it would be a very weird experience. The Flatlander would only see an infinitely small sliver of our world at a time. As we moved it in the third dimension, things would weirdly change colors, and they'd have no grasp for what's really happening. They could see our world, but only the tiniest bit at a time. There's no way for their brain or eyes to appreciate the beauty of the 3D world. And while we cannot imagine a fourth spatial dimension beyond the three we know of, we can use similar analogies, where if a 4D creature took us on a little adventure of their world, whatever it would look like, it would be very strange to us, but we'd have no true appreciation for what it really was, and there's nothing I or anyone can do to change this beyond finding the weirdest stock footage that I can. Then another interesting property in the fourth dimension is what it's like to invert objects. In two dimensions, if there's a flatland R on a piece of paper, it can only turn and move side to side. But if I pull it up into the third dimension, flip it, and put it back, I have now completely inverted the object in a way that's impossible for it to do without access to a higher dimension. The flatland creatures alone could not accomplish this. But now just imagine this extended to us. If you were lifted into the fourth dimension and flipped over in that dimension and then placed back into our three-dimensional universe, you would be completely inverted. Your heart would be on the wrong side of your body, any birthmarks would be on the wrong side, and you would just be a completely mirrored version of yourself.